Where do we go from here? So a couple things I'd love to talk in this business is about how do we think we tend to think about the advice business, whether it's financial advisors, insurance advisors, financial planners, all of the different business as like sort of a cottage culture. But at the end of the day, advisors are small businesses. They are some of the most successful small businesses in Canada, and too often we don't think about them as businesses and how they run their business. And when I started Purpose Advisor Solutions, I'll talk about this more in a second. One of my real passion about how do you help advisors as business owners? How do you help them think about growth and scale in their practice, in their business, and think about profitability? And what are the types of questions you want to be asking yourself as a business owner? And I think it's important to remember that you've got, in many ways, two jobs. You're an employee of your business. And by what I mean by that is you serve clients, you manage their advice, you manage their money, you help provide them with lots of insights. But at the same time, you have to step back and think about yourself as the business owner, right? How do you work on your business instead of in your business? And so what I'd like to talk today are about what are the questions you need to ask yourself to optimize your value and creation, the value creation that you do. So my background, I'm the CEO of Purpose Advisor Solutions. It's a business that I started almost 3 years ago. Purpose Investments and SomSafe are one of the major investors in our business. Som and I had talked for a number of years. I had been in the US and with a firm called Ameriprise Financial, one of the largest independent firms down there. I was with TD in Canada running their advisor business and working in their wealth business. And I was struck by the lack of options, frankly, for advisors in Canada and the need to really innovate and provide more ways for advisors to think about their business. And so we started PAS 3 years ago to do that. And really wanted to think about how do you help advisors run and grow their business more successfully. At the heart of that is obviously and always technology, and certainly the folks that have talked before me talked quite well about how that can happen. But even before technology, there's a need to think about the business as a business. Many of you may have seen the movie about McDonald's and a founder and how they started. And there's a scene in it where they go out onto a tennis court, and sort of open it all up and are drawing lines and organizing the business processes over and over again to get it right, to really institutionalize and industrialize a business that was sort of an interesting, one-person burger shop. But when they started to really think about how do you scale it, that's when it got interesting. And that's at the heart of it is what Purpose Advisor Solutions does, is we help advisors grow and provide scale to their business. So if you think about your business, it's more than just a series of meetings and a series of updates. If you think about instead of that, your clients are really relying on you to put an experience in place for them, right? There's a target experience that you want to have. There's a target experience that they want to have. And at the end of the day, the client wants to feel comfortable, right? They want to feel confident. They want to know that they've got their future taken care of, that they don't have to worry. And so at the heart of what you do is create a process to create that confidence. And so once you think about the value proposition that you want to create for your clients, right? What does your target client look like? What is important to them? What are the things that really make meaning for them and make value for them? That's the first step, is understanding the value proposition to the client. Once you understand the value proposition, you want to start thinking about what are the consistent processes that allow you to deliver your value proposition. Where do you want to spend time? Where do you want to spend energy? There's an advisor I talked to several months ago that was really struggling with their business. And when I talked to them, they said, my staff isn't happy. They're working around the clock. They're really frustrated with where we are. I don't feel like we're spending time with our best clients. And I asked him if he'd sat down with the staff and said, where are you spending your time? What are you doing? He said, no, I just assumed they were doing the right things. And we organized a session where we sat down with the staff and with the advisor and said, who are the clients that are most important to you? And we went through a list of clients and we said, what's important to them? What do they want to do? We then went and asked to the staff and said, which are the clients that you're spending the most time with? And it was almost opposite. And what we realized and what the team realized was they hadn't lined up their value proposition with their target client, with the processes that were going around it. And so really it was about working with the client, the advisor, and saying, what is the value proposition? What is it that we provide clients? How do we think about that? Then what are the processes that we do against those? How do we implement those? And what are our expectations of our staff to do that? And the more that you can create those processes, you're going to free up capacity for growth. You're going to make sure you're focusing on your most valued clients, and you're providing value to them that they really reflect and understand. The last piece of it is when we think about growth, right? Growth comes in the most predictable manner from being referable. Can your clients describe what you do for them? If they can't describe the value you give them, if they can't tell someone else why they work with you, they can't refer you. And if you're not getting those referrals, you're not getting the most profitable growth that's out there. Absolutely, there's tons of marketing tactics that you can do to go out and build your name in the marketplace, build your name in community, and all of those things are important. But at the end of the day, it's referrals in the most profitable practices. When we've done the analysis, when we've looked at those practices that are most profitable and growing fastest, they have consistent processes that their clients can describe, which leads to referral, which leads to profitable growth. More importantly, when you think about the clients that you enjoy working with, and this is what brings it back to the beginning of the conversation and beginning of the slide, you want to get more clients that you like. So if you're targeting clients that you enjoy working with, that give you a great, feeling yourself, if you're delivering them value that they value, you're going to get referred to other clients that look like them. So a couple questions you want to be asking yourself as you think about building that referable, repeatable practice. What do your clients really want versus what they say they want? What is your value proposition versus the competition? And how does your process demonstrate it? So once you know what the client wants, what is the value proposition? What are you offering? What does that look like? That could mean, everything from the office experience to how do I provide reporting to how often do I meet with them? All of those things demonstrate your value proposition. Third, what are the processes around your interactions and are they working? So how are you actually putting process in place to deliver on that value proposition? This is one of the places where I think it really becomes a challenge for advisors to think about process. Think about how do you enable the interactions to happen? Interactions don't just sort of happen, they happen organically, but you want them to happen in a systematic manner. And you want your team, your processes and staff all to line up around that. What do you focus on and what should you outsource? So where are you spending your energy? Is it places where you can bring the most value? Remember, there's always a trade-off. Anything you spend time on is something you can't spend time on something else. So if you think about it, if I'm spending my time on a $50 activity, something that drives $50 in activity, I can't do things that drive $100 in activity. And so that's where outsourcing and looking at other providers to do it is really important. And finally, are you providing that referable experience? Or is it an average experience? Is it something that someone can articulate clearly? And is it something that someone can tell someone about? There is no doubt that when someone uses Netflix, right, they refer that experience. When someone uses an Apple computer, when someone uses Amazon, when someone goes into a Ritz-Carlton, there is an experience that they can describe. There is a Ritz-Carlton experience. And it doesn't just happen. If you're an employee at Ritz-Carlton, there is a playbook that you follow, right? When you walk into the door, they identify your car, they take your name so that when you get to the counter, at the counter, they say, Mr. Gans, it's good to see you. That just doesn't just happen. That's all about the process taking down to the smallest item. So first, let's start with what do your clients really want? So a lot of us like to think that it's about the numbers, right? Is it about returns? Is it about dollars saved? All of these little things. But when you really get down to it, when we do research, what we find is clients are focused on their goals. They want to know that they're on track to achieving their goals. Clients want to feel that their advisor understands them, that you know what's going on with them. And one of the real dangers that we find is this focus on performance, right? If you focus on performance, if you communicate performance to the client as the first thing you always talk about, how much something's up, how much it cost, how much it moved, that is what the client is going to anchor on. So you choose the things that the client anchors on. It's not that performance isn't important. You absolutely want a great portfolio that really hits the numbers, but that's not what you want to anchor on. So you really want to spend time to talk to your clients, listen to your clients, and understand what they are. What are those things that really make them tick? And take and capture those ideas and really know them and make sure that they're prime and brought to your attention every time you talk to the client. Is it family? Is it retirement? Is it being able to, leave a legacy? All of those things are important. The other thing that we find is clients need to be organized, right? One of the biggest things you can do is actually put organization to their lives. You can't feel in control if you don't know where everything is, right? If, I've sat down with advisors when they sit down and they bring all sorts of papers and all sorts of different things, you can't quite see what you're supposed to focus on. On the other hand, if it's a very simple meeting with very simple communications, with clear organization, the client all of a sudden relaxes. They now know that the advisor understands them. They now that the advisor is organizing them. If you're organized and understood, you generally start to believe that you're going to get to where you want to get. So it's important to remember, you control that agenda. You control the agenda of the relationship. You decide what gets talked about first. You decide how it gets positioned, and really taking the time to say, how do I want to be positioned with my clients? All of my clients. Do I want to start with performance first? Do I want to start with goals first? Do I want to start with something else? And the more that you can hone in on that and get a real focus on it, that's what sets the difference between advisors that are loved and advisors who are transacted with, right? If performance is always your thing, there's going to be a year where performance isn't going to hit. There's going to be an advisor who can charge 5 basis points less than you or $500 less than you. On the other hand, the advisor that's made meaning totally changes the situation. There's a team I worked with out of Massachusetts, and they were focused on, the advisor had built his practice, and he reached a point where he realized that he really enjoyed working with families with special needs. He set out then to build his value proposition all around helping families with special needs and putting together a financial plan for them, helping them understand what were the expenses, what were the things they need to know, how to think about transitioning money to the family. And he suddenly realized once he started doing this, the referrals just came in. Everyone said, this guy is the best person in the Northeast to talk about this. He would bring in specialists, he would bring in doctors, everything to create that value proposition. At the end of the day, those clients had no concept of how much they were paying him. All they knew was the value that he provided. That's where you want to get your practice, that it's focused on the value that you provide and a set of understanding with your clients. So I've talked about this a little bit, but knowing your client needs and clearly communicating them, thinking about your client situation as a whole, right? What is the entirety of it? And finally, be honest if you need help. If you don't have the level of expertise in a space, be confident in bringing in an outside expert, whether it's bringing an insurance expert, whether it's bringing an investment expert. Clients actually don't expect you to know everything. They expect you to ask all the questions so that you can bring to bear the resources that you need. Next, what are the processes around your meetings and your business? So capacity is the biggest barrier to growth. When I've talked to advisors, it's not their sales process, it's not access to new clients, it's having real clarity in the business. In the retail business, the biggest point of failure, there's 2 huge points of failure for retailers. The first is when they start. Within 3 months, most of them fail. And it's true in the advice industry. The second big point of failure is when they go from 1 to 2 locations. And the reason that is they make their business hum, their one-store hum, based on being the hero. They're always there to fix the hole. They're always there to make stuff work. But the businesses that can get from 1 to 2 to 5 to 10 locations are those that have clear workflows and clear business processes. For sure, CRM is part of it, but CRM only works if you already have the processes set up. And furthermore, that the staff have to be involved in that process flow. They have to understand it. They have to know how it works. They have to actually help define it and make sure that those processes are easy and understandable for them. So I think Ali talked about business process and how you think about the business. And everything starts with your business process. We've worked with teams of 100 million in assets I'm working with teams with $1 billion in assets. And no matter what you do, it really comes down to 6 key things that you have to do. You have to market and attract, you have to discover or do discovery, you have to onboard the client, analyze and make recommendations, implement the solution, service them proactively and reactively. And under each of those, there's 3 to 4 processes. There's about 25 to 30 processes in any advisor practice. We've spent a lot of time understanding those processes, and we're now building the technology around that. But you want to make sure that within your practice, you go in and understand for those 6 key areas, what are the big business processes? What are my goals for each of these business processes? And what are my expectations of activity in these? And this is where taking the time to really step back, finding time throughout the year, 2 or 3 times a year, to think through how each of these things work and how you run your business around it is key. It's key because it allows you to scale when you can grow, but it's also essential so that when you walk in the office on Monday, you feel confident about how your business is going to run. Advisors who have taken the time to understand their process and implement process walk in Monday confident. They feel good, they know what's going to happen, they don't feel like they're reacting to everything. Practices that have less process tend to be more chaotic, like the advisor I talked about at the beginning. They're figuring things out the fly. They have to be the hero to solve, right? Staff are spending time not in the right areas. No one has a common language of how and what they're doing. Understanding these processes are key in the starting point. The next question is, what is your focus and what do you outsource, right? So once you understand all the processes in the business, then you say, what do I do, right? Do I want to build the technology? Do I want to outsource the technology? Do I want to do the investments? Do I want to outsource the investments? What do I love doing? And what am I great at doing? It's important to be honest with yourself that those things aren't always the same thing. Sometimes we think we're great at something, but we're not, right? Sometimes we might be great at something, but not love doing it. And you really have to think about which ones of those do you want to do and which ones do you want to outsource. The last thing I'd say is, what do your clients say makes you special, right? If you asked your client, why would you refer me to someone else? Or how would you describe me to your best friend? They'll give you 2 or 3 things. Those are the things you want to focus on. If investments isn't the thing, then outsource investments. If investments is the thing, then insource investments and outsource that other activities. If they bring great experts to the table, make sure you're really great at doing that. But really thinking through what is your focus, great businesses do it, right? The biggest businesses in the world don't do everything themselves. They look for partners. They look for people that can help make them better and are confident in that. Sometimes that means giving up some of the economics, but you have to understand what those are and make those trade-offs. Finally, is your experience referable, right? Think about your client experience on a broader level. How do all the touch points interact? How does one meeting move to the next? How is your brand represented throughout? Is your documentation and materials, is it organized? Is it simple? Does it represent the experience you want? Does the client understand when the different touch points are going to be? Do they know that you're going to meet with them 3 times a year in person? You're going to do calls 4 times. You're going to send emails out once a week. If they understand that, they tend to actually get on your rails. If they don't understand it, you tend to get a lot of incoming ad hoc calls. Once again, if you control the experience, if you tell the client, we're going to meet on these dates ahead of time, the client's actually going to pull their questions together. The client's going to wait until that time and they're going to sit down and talk to you. If you set and manage that they call person X for these type of problems and person Y for these, they start to understand how they interface with you and how they work with you. Getting that right is essential. Now, CRM, other tools and technology can ensure smooth delivery, but there's an advisor, one of the best advisors in the business, a guy by the name of Ron Carson, who's now built out a technology platform. Years ago, he did this with a set of stickies. He had stickies in an office that had every step in the process defined. And if anyone in his business wanted to see them, they could go and look at each of those steps in the process and know where the client should be and help work them through that. Technology can make it better. It can make it smoother. It can add artificial intelligence. It can make it automatic. All of that's true. But it has to start with you defining what that referable experience is. And then at the end of the day, can someone refer you like they can refer the Ritz-Carlton? The last thing I'll add is think about the metrics. think about a couple easy to collect pieces of data that can help you push your practice even further. Too often we have sort of concepts that we think are right, but we really haven't proven them out. Taking the time, whether it's a client satisfaction survey, whether it's picking a couple key things that might help you understand which clients give you more dollars when you talk to them, which percentage clients keep their meetings, you determine what are the things that show success. And you're going to find over time that those are going to evolve. But we know that firms that actually manage with metrics are more profitable. They get to the target profitability of 30%, right? And understanding when you look at it of how do I get my profitability down at the bottom line as an owner to the best level. And this is once again, you acting as the owner of the business versus acting as an employee in the business. And thinking about yourself in two ways. As an employee, you're going to pay yourself a salary, you're going to make sure that you get paid, but then you want to make sure there's excess profit being created for you for the risk that you're taking and the opportunity costs that you're taking in your business as the owner. So really understanding those metrics and how it drives your profitability, how it drives your margin, how it drives your compensation, because it's not just enough to get compensated for doing the activities. You want to make sure that there's enough profit left over to compensate you for being the owner and the capital that you're investing in that business. So in summary, think holistically. Maximizing your practice requires thinking through everything end to end. The operations have to support your value proposition, not only for your clients, but also for your business. The more that you match value to service, the more that you create value for you as an owner. And then finally, what makes your practice special? Separate the table stakes from your value proposition and ensure that drives everything that you do. Really keep coming back to that. So I'll quickly just talk about purpose. We build purpose advisor solutions for a singular reason. We want to empower advisor teams to build successful businesses. We want to help them launch the business. We want to help them gain efficiency. We want to help them scale their operations and grow. We know that the technology is getting better. We know access to information is getting better. We want to help simplify that practice. We want to continue on a journey with advisors on how do they really optimize and deliver the business that they want. So a lot of different ways that we work together. We work together sometimes just as a technology provider, but we also have what's called our harness business, which is an outsourced investment management business that allows us to partner with financial advisors, helps them, I apologize, I have a dog walking through, helps them focus on the things that they do best while we implement the investment management solutions, while bringing in the best portfolio managers and sub-advisors to ensure that the client has what they need from an investment management perspective. We've built out an integrated tech stack that puts the advisor at the front in the client relationship, but leverages the best of breed in Canadian technology. You heard from Conquest on the financial planning side. We use Digit from the financial planning side. We use Digit for portfolio management. We provide an automated account opening experience that really allows you to focus on the client instead of on the paperwork. It simplifies it, it automates it, it ensures that the right paper gets filled out at the right time. And then we integrate that into the back end with our custodian at Fidelity. All of those things are done to make it easier to run your business so that you can automate the things that add process, automate the things that traditionally add process and take that time out so you can focus on the relationship, on understanding your client and getting those insights that really set you apart and help the client feel confident. We've built out a set of tools and are continuing to build a set of tools and a portal for the client. This is where we're headed with our portal to create a single shop to organize the client, to provide access to the content from folks like Conquest, but really help the client know that they're on track, help them feel organized, help them feel in control of their investments and able to move forward in the way that they want. By providing that organization and simplifying that to them, it allows you as the advisor to really focus on the relationship going forward. And that relationship is what's key to differentiating you and creating value. Through our harness business, we allow you to control the client experience. We provide our advisor center as a hub for managing the day-to-day. It allows you to onboard clients. It allows you to track what's going on. And then we partner with some of the best investment shops out there, boutique investment shops that let you provide your clients at all asset levels the level of investment advice that they need. You pick the preferred provider. We work with you and work with them to deliver on that. and allow to simplify your business and focus once again on that client. So we've had an exciting relationship with New Outlook. It's been a great process for us. We think that the future of wealth is really focused on that relationship and using digital tools to simplify and automate the process. There's tons of players out there that are obviously thinking about direct to consumer. We believe the game is not about taking the advisor out. It's about actually enhancing the advisor experience and giving them more tools so that they can help clients make the right decisions, help them get to the place they want and achieve their future. So, we're interested in talking more. Happy to talk to any of you individually or with Michael or whatever makes sense. But if there's any questions, I'll stop and take those now. Thanks, Michael.